All right, good morning, guys. Welcome in. Welcome. How is everybody doing? Lauren, thank you. Thank you for joining in. Lauren, much appreciated. Welcome. Burmy, Venus, Carolina, J Mar, little L Jillzog. That's a crazy comment at 8:35 in the morning, but I love it. Welcome in, guys. Meta, thank you very much. Much appreciated, Meta. Thank you as always. That is very kind of you, Meta. Thank you very much. Mando, welcome in. Good morning, good morning. Miss White, Sue Whipple, welcome in, guys. It is a very gloomy morning here in New York, but hopefully it is less gloomy where you guys are. We have a lot to go over this morning. Some big things happening, right? Some gap ups in the market, creating some opportunities, and we are going to talk about it. Nice job, wow, Naj. Thank you for the spot levels yesterday. I tripled my money. That's awesome, man. Congratulations, Naj. That's really, really good. Really good. So let's dive into it today, guys. I don't want to spend too much time on the theatrics. I want to just jump into it. Okay. So we have some things to talk about today on the SPY chart. Okay. We are moving into supply this morning. I mean, what do you know? Another supply. Do we break the supply? It looks strong. Okay. But here's the thing. We're in supply and we can't change that. So we have 586, 585 as key supply zone. And what is that on the ES chart? Well, you know what it is. It's the ES. Look at the title of the live stream this morning. It's ES 6900. So some big levels we are approaching here in this morning, right? Some big colossal zones here. And it's not just 6900 that's important to me. It's all the way from 69 to 6918, 6920. So some big things happening here on the ES chart. And we are going to discuss this in our morning session. Okay. Do you still use the orb strategy, Rodney? Not often, but I'll do it sometimes, right? If I take a trend-based entry on SPY or ES, and yeah, I'll take an orb, right? But for most times, I'll use an orb with a level, right? So I won't just go off a 15-minute candle high or low. I would use a level combined with an orb. But yeah, I'll trade it sometimes. The orb strategy is a very powerful strategy. Okay, so we'll dive into the ES chart today, being a very important pivot. And this is going to be our main talking point today because there is a big level here. You guys already know what it is. So we'll talk about it in a minute. We'll go over AMD. AMD in the pre-market showing a lot of strength here. AMD is very strong. And we are going to talk about why AMD is strong this morning. And one of the reasons why is because is Lisa, right? Miss Lisa, the CEO of AMD was on CNBC this morning and is pumping this up. So we'll talk about AMD this morning, right? So that's what we're going to go over on our main watch. We'll go over Amazon, strong this morning as well. AMD showing strength, Amazon showing strength over 250. But the question is, does it actually sustain over 250 today? It's a very big break. We'll talk about Amazon 250. We're going to go over Apple. Apple Shapple, right? Little Apple move here. Big upside move yesterday. This was the top watch for longs and it worked out really well. Remember we said what our top watches were? Apple was a beautiful top watch, right? So let's look to see if Apple can continue today, right? Some 274s, 273s as major demand. We'll talk about what we're doing today here in Apple. But you guys already know it's going to be that pullback along to our demand zone. So let's go over Apple. Apple being, again, a watch this morning. Nvidia, we were spot on yesterday about chip weakness. What did we say? Like, I think like yesterday's session was really good because we were prepared for this in the pre-market session. And I had no intention of trading Nvidia yesterday. But eventually you just kind of had to, right? We spoke about this 195 gap fill on Nvidia. Me and Mike took the same trade. It was just a beautiful gap fill trade yesterday, right? We got in short. I'll show you where we both got in short yesterday. It was right, to be honest with you, I can't even remember where I took the trade. I think it was over here, right? It was right over there. We took short on this trade. And then we took it all the way from there, almost that candle high, down to like 192.50. That was my day yesterday on Nvidia. So very clean action. And we were prepared for this in the pre-market session because what did we say? We said gap fills are likely across the board on AMD, on Nvidia, on Avgo, on TSM. And if you look at yesterday's opening bell on semiconductors, what happened? Well, look at TSM. Well, it was the gap fill, right? Look at Avgo. Well, it was the gap fill. Look at the SMH. What happened? Well, it was the gap fill, right? And we gap filled. We produced the gap fill. We cleared the gap fill from the highs to the lows and completely gap filled yesterday on the SMH ticker. Now, granted, did we gap fill fully on Nvidia? No, we did not. So there is some things to talk about today here in Nvidia and some reasons why you should be a little bit hesitant today's session here, or maybe cautious. Hesitant is not the right word. It should be cautious would be the right word today here in Nvidia's chart. Okay, so let's. I don't understand why you don't like gaps. I do like gaps. Yesterday. I traded gaps. Gaps are great. I shorted the gap and got the gap fill. Gaps are just low volume areas, right? Gaps are just areas where there's no price action. Gaps are areas where there is no volume. There are no transactions built up over here. Therefore, when it does clear back below the level, it tends to gap fills. Gap fills create a lot of opportunity. That's why it's always a main discussion point in our pre-markets. So let's dive into it, guys. I want to go over econ data earnings reports. Then we'll talk about the charts this morning. A beautiful November the 12th Wednesday session. Okay, so today, obviously, November 12th, and this morning we have some data. We've peppered in, we have Fed speakers, Fed speakers, Fed speakers, Fed speakers. What's going on? Is it like a party of Fed speakers today? I mean, it's just incredible that they all come today's session. And the audacity, right? The audacity to come today with all these Fed speakers. Brett, your head's big. Yes, my head is huge. There we go. There we go. Better. Big head Brett. Much better now. That is a much better. Actually, you know what? I'll make it like, let me fix that. There you go. That's better. All right, so on our Wednesday session, we have Fed speakers at 9:20, at 10 o'clock, at 10:20, at 12:15, at 12:30, and 4 p.m. So get ready for this session. It's going to be a very interesting session. Be aware of that going into our Wednesday session. Okay. Now tomorrow in the pre-market session, we have CPI data, we have jobless claims data. And with the market, with the government reopening, I would expect that this data does get released. Again, I could be wrong, but I would expect this does get released. I would be careful of being full. Don't be full port Nvidia puts right into Friday expiration into our Thursday CPI data. Just don't do it. Right? If it works, it works, but it's not what you want to do. Okay, that's not a strategy. You're guessing. There's no edge there. Be aware of the fact that there is some big data on Thursday session, which can cause some waves in the market, waves that are unexpected tides in the market. We don't know what's going to happen after CPI. Let's be aware of that going into our data. Okay, Friday session, more data, and we'll finish off the week with some more Fed speakers. Okay, on the earnings docket, you can see earnings docket if it refreshes for us. Absolutely nothing today's session. I mean, Cisco in the after hours today. I would say the big one though tomorrow is DIS, Disney. And we're gonna take a look at we're gonna take a look at DIS today, Disney today, because it actually is an interesting ticker going into our Thursday morning. Okay, and we'll also go over AMAT if we have time as well. AMAT, Applied Materials. So let's dive into our charts this morning. First of all, where is the energy? I know I feel like I'm low energy this morning. But that doesn't mean you guys should be low energy. Where is the energy? I can't be the only one with energy every morning. I have to have other people take over the energizing pre-markets because I'm like low caffeine this morning. I finished all my tea. I'm drinking. You know what it is? I'm drinking tea now, right? When it starts getting colder, I start drinking tea, not coffee, right? I need that the 100 milligrams of caffeine, not this weak 30 milligram stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Like this is I think I need to go back to the espressos. Right, so I'll try to wake myself up. Okay, on the SPY chart, what's happening essentially here is we had a reclaim of 680, right? This was our big bull bear pivot yesterday, and 680 we maintained, and there were some traps to both sides yesterday. Okay, there were some traps to both sides. You saw some downside moves off the open, right? You saw some big upside moves and traps, and then you saw some demands back below, and then upside moves, and then more traps, then upside move. So yesterday was a trap-filled session. It was a trap-filled session. Okay. Now the one thing I would say though is that we did develop a hold here, right? There was a strong maintenance of demand. Eventually, after the first time and the second time and the third time's a charm, it ended up breaking out and continuing, right? So yesterday's session was trap, demand hold, right? So that was essentially what happened going into our Tuesday session. Now into our Wednesday pre-market, we're seeing a gap up continuation of that reversal move on Tuesday. Okay, so where are we gapping up into though? The most important thing is the context here. The context is that we are gapping up in a supply. This again, someone said I don't like gaps. I do like gaps because gaps give us opportunity, right? Here's the opportunity today is the fact that we are capping up in a supply, and when we have gaps in the market, my immediate response is, can we fill that gap? Is there an opportunity for reversion plays to fill that gap move down? Or is there opportunity at the demands, which would be the start of that gap, or actually rather the end of that gap, to look for long entries? Essentially this, right? So if we have a big upset, if we have a days of consolidation, right? And then you see a period where the market just gaps up, right? So no price action there. It just simply does what? It gaps up like this, right? A gap up like this. If it gaps up like this, my immediate response system is never going to be, let's just buy calls right here and look for the gap and go. I'm not going to do that. What I would do is I would look for us to pull back to my demand zone, in which case I could either look for shorts back into the move down, or I can wait for the end of that gap fill level, which would be the start of that previous day high or previous day low if it's a gap down or gap up rather, and I look for the upside move there, right? So that's what they do in gap fills. In gap fills, you're looking for us to either look for reversion plays back into our gap start or gap end rather, or you're looking for us to basically long that level. Okay, and so that's what happened, right? If you look at, for example, Nvidia yesterday, Nvidia was what, right? If we had a big gap up on Monday session and Tuesday, and Tuesday was the gap fill lower, right? So that it tends to fill, gaps tend to get filled. And if you look at the SPY chart this morning, we have now created another gap here. Now it's not a very large gap. It's not a huge. We're not seeing like a massive gap up higher, but you are seeing a gap here. Okay. And so here's what I would do today's session. My mindset basically is let's not long the supply here. Let's not go crazy. Let's not get all horned up in calls at 9:34 in the morning, because again, even though the market does look strong, which absolutely does look strong, you do want to see this pull back and find support somewhere. Okay, and where is the support today? Well, the support today is back at the PDH, right? The PDH is 683.5. So the first thing I'll have charted here is 683.5 as my key inflection point going into my morning here. If I do see us pull back to this level today and start developing a hold here, well, that's my first area for longs. If I see us develop a hold here at 683.5, this is my first long spot. My second long spot is going to be back at 680, which was the demand hold from yesterday. So my two long spots are there and are there. Those are the two areas where I think the market should develop a hold. Again, intraday price action is going to confirm that, but that's what I'm seeing. Level 1 and level 2. But in no environment, in no world am I going into a pre-market gap up and saying, let's buy calls right here. Because again, what could happen is this. And I don't want that to happen. So again, be aware of that going into our session here. And if you look at the chart here on the SPY, you're going to see, well, look at the last time we moved into these levels. You see big upside move, big downside, big upside move, big downside, right? You know how important 685 to 686 is. It's a very important level. But if you want additional confirmation of how important this level is, go to the ES chart for a second, okay? Go to the ES chart and see how important the ES level is. The ES level is 6920 to 6900 ES. This is a very important pivot here going into our pre-market. We have supply here, we have supply here, we have supply here, we have supply here. This whole zone is an area of supply. It's an area I don't want to be long into. Now, granted, I'm not saying you can't ever buy calls. I think people sometimes confuse this. I'm not saying you can't just go buy calls on this chart ever. You can, right? But you want to see what happened. You want to see us either clear above the supply zone, which would be a nice move. We reclaim and hold this 6920s. We're going to go back into all-time high plus. This would be a beautiful long entry. Okay, that would be an awesome long entry. Likewise, I would look for the pullback to our demand zone back into the 66s, which is a key demand from our Monday session, Monday's highs. That would be another long entry today's session. But again, in no environment would I be going into a Wednesday morning gap up with 17 Fed speakers in the morning and look for longs over here. I just wouldn't really do that because, again, this is an area of supply going into a pre-market session. This is not a trade I would take because, again, there you are at risk of a supply rejection because the market is at supply, is at resistance. And if you look at previously what it's done here, it's done it before. This is the market. The market does this all the time, right? Look at this chart right here. Look at this chart right here, and it looks awfully resemblant to what we're seeing right now in the pre-market session. And look at the intraday price action here, right? You see little upside moves. Even there, it's a little bit almost, I wouldn't say a gap up, but almost a gap up, right? Some strength coming in the pre-market session. Then bam, shot right down lower, right? So again, you can see the importance of our levels, but it's not just 6,900 as your level. It's between here and here as your level, because that's what I'm seeing here on the ES chart. And if you go to SPY, where is the high of that Friday, October 31st? Where is the high? The most important question is, where is the high from the October 31st session? SPY, bam, where is it? It's technically 686.30, right? So what you may want to do today is you may want to make some adjustments in your charts and have this as your Megalodon supply, right? This is your big level of supply going into our pre-market session. So some big things happening here. But again, understand 685 to 686, about a dollar range here as your resistance this morning. Okay, so that's what we're seeing going into our pre-market session. And have charted the Monday's highs as well. Monday's highs, 682. I think this is actually where I would be more comfortable looking for longs. 682 is that hold spot from Monday's highs and that Tuesday hold spot, right? So 680, I said 683 for gap fill, which is still a level, right? It's still obviously a level, but I would feel most comfortable, most confident at the 682s, because you can see how important that level was yesterday, intraday, right? The hold over here, you see how important the 682 was in the close. Look at this price action here: breakout, retest, upside, 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 gap up, right? So the key inflection point. I bet you this too. Let's do a fixed range volume profile. I bet you. I know I'm taking way too much time here, but I bet you it's going to also be, what the hell was that? Not that. What the hell was that? I'm looking for the fixed range volume profile here. Where the hell is it? There it is. Okay. So if you run it from here to here, yeah. Okay. So you do have some higher volume here, right? There is high volume here. It actually starts around the 683s. So this is where today I would expect there to be some buying pressure. If we do pull back there, there's buying pressure there, and there's buying pressure here at 680. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing today's session. Important 683 to 682, and important 680 as your big demand zones below. Okay, and obviously supply above 685, 686. Okay, on the QQQ chart, we're going way too slow this morning. Monique, thank you. Wow, that is very nice of you, Monique Mobley. Thank you. That is very kind of you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for supporting. That is going to the November giveaway, so that's much appreciated. Thank you very much for that. Right. So on the QQQ chart, it all comes down to these Monday highs, right? Monday highs being a very important level. And you can see yesterday, all we did was just move into demand, we moved into supply, and now we're back above supply. So here on Qs, we are holding above a supply zone. 623 is maintaining, and it's actually demand this morning. So 623 is your demand zone. This is your long spot this morning in the pre-market session. If we can hold 622, 623 in the pre-market or off the open, this is your long spot, right? A dip and rip would be a valid play here on the QQQ. That's what I'm seeing today here in Qs. So QQQ, a bit different from SPY. I mean, SPY still has some dip and rip opportunities, but Qs look more clear. Qs look stronger this morning, right? Now we do have a level above us, 627, 627, 627, 627. If we can clear 627, there is more upside back to 630. So today's session on the Qs, it's all about the 623s as your demand zone below and 627 as your supply above. But again, just like the SPY, you don't want to be long into a resistance level, right? You see resistance here, you see resistance here, you see resistance here, right? And this is a low turning into a high. And all we've done so far is see an aggressive move down, and we're right back at that same low and high, right? So be aware of 627 and also look for the long side trades here at 623 if the market does hold there, okay? That's what I'm seeing today here on the charts, on ES, on SPY, on Qs. Let's now dive into our individual equities now, okay? Let's start off with the first equity today's session, Nvidia. So Nvidia, we had a really good game plan on this chart, and Mike and I took the short. It was a really good short yesterday. Why? Because it was a gap fill, right? Market gapped up on our big upside move on Monday, right? Or actually from Friday into Monday, gap up in the market, right? Big upside on Monday session. And what did we do on Tuesday? Tuesday, we reverted the move down to our demand zone. Now, there were some plays here. Like I said, what do you do in gap fills? Your playbook on a gap up day should be what, right? For me, it's this. It's look for the gap fill, which would be the move down lower, okay, back into our level, or look for the longs back at demand. So you could have actually longed Nvidia yesterday. Nvidia eventually became a long, right? Why? Because as it gets closer and closer to the end of that gap level, That's where you get those overconfident bears. And the overconfident bears, eventually, what happens there is they get stopped out, right? And the relatively weak name in the market turns into a relatively strong name in the market. And that's what you're seeing here this morning on Nvidia. Okay, so Nvidia, even though it was weak yesterday and made the move down into a gap level below, it's now turning from a relatively weak name into possibly a relatively strong name. And again, you could argue that's because of the price action yesterday. You could also argue, Brett, it's because of AMD is strong, right? And both arguments are valid today. I think you can go with both of them, right? But the idea this morning is I don't like the Nvidia shorts this morning as long as we're above the 195s. Why? Because 195 is our demand zone from yesterday. So 195 key level. I just wouldn't be involved here anymore. Okay, look at the 5-minute, look at the 15-minute chart here. You can see it's a bit of it's in the middle of a zone here. So this is not on my watch this morning. In fact, I don't plan to trade this chart because again, it's right at the midpoint. If it can clear back under 195, more downside. If it holds 195, more upside. That's all I see here this morning. But right now, it's at the inflection point between two areas. That's the video. Okay, AMD on the AMD chart. AMD is strong. And AMD looks really good. And the reason why is because you had Miss Lisa Cook, the CEO of what is her last name? It's Cook, right? Am I making it up? No, I'm making up. I'm making that completely up, right? There's no way. Wait, what is her last name? I feel like I just made that up. In the back of my head, I just made that up. I always call her Lisa. Lisa Sue. Why did I say Cook? I don't know what is wrong with me. Why did I just say Lisa Cook? Anyway, Lisa Sue. Okay, so there it is. I don't know what's wrong with me, right? Anyway, so AMD obviously, right, very strong this morning. And the reason why is because you do have the CEO of AMD on CNBC this morning, okay? Tim Cook, that's what it is, Tim Cook. All right, so I'm getting there is some logic behind my thinking there, okay? So there is some logic. That's the Apple CEO, obviously, Tim Cook. Lisa Cook works for the Fed. Is that also a person as well, Lisa Cook? I don't know. All right, so guys, on AMD is very strong. It's showing strength, obviously, the pre-market session. This is the exciting one. This is the exciting chip name this morning, and you can see that there is a potential little little trend play here, right? Little trend flip coming in. Now, my argument here on AMD is going to be here. This is where I want to be. Like if I'm looking for longs today's session, I would be looking for longs back at this zone here. This is where my zone is today on AMD. If I do see us hold the 249s today, it's a long spot. Okay, I know it's a bit far. I know it's this is the spicy one in the market this morning. This is the firework everyone's watching, and AMD can create some nasty reversals. But I do like the 249s today in AMD. If AMD can pull here back to 249, and I see it develop a hold spot at the PDH and at the Monday's highs, that's a long spot today's session. So look for 249 for longs. It is a long opportunity. Let's not misconstrue that. But again, we have to see what happens here because there is some there's a catalyst here with her being on CNBC. So again, that's the long spot, 249, 250. Okay, if we clear above the highs here, where are we going to? I mean, look, this is the little trend line, right? But you do have resistance here at 254. You see the 254s? 254, 254, 254, 254. So if you want to look for breakout trades today, it's above the 254. Okay, 254 breaks. You're going to see the highs here at 259.50. That's what I'm seeing today here on AMD. And yes, you are seeing AMD price upgrade this morning. It's pumping for multiple reasons, right? But it's also because she's been on CNBC all morning. Okay, and who upgraded them, by the way? I'm curious. Who upgraded them? Because that's also a big difference. So AMD projects profit triple by 2030, targets 100 billion in data center revenue, $2.90 per share by Wedbush. Okay, so Wedbush is a reputable firm. So yeah, very interesting here this morning on AMD. Keep this on the main watch. Okay. Amazon 250 looks good, right? 250 looks good. That's all I'm going to say here. Okay, this is a bit of an annoying one because I don't like pre-market breaks. My breakout level is here at like 250.5. You can see really it's 251, right, as my breakout level. And we have broken out this morning. You see how these highs, you see the high that Wednesday, November the 5 session, and the low, and the high of that Thursday, the 6 session. Look at this, look at that high. See this level right here? This is the level I'm talking about. This is the most important level today on Amazon. You see it right here? Look at this. Look at the price action here. Big upside move. Bam, upside, right? Rejection, rejection downside, okay? And so you see how important 251 is. And then look what's happening here in the pre-market session right now. What's going on here? Well, shit, right? That's your long entry right now. If you can long it on equity, this is your long side move, and you can look for a move in a 253, right? That's what I'd be doing right now on Amazon. But the problem is it's happening in the pre-market session. So this is no longer top watch for me. I want to see. I still will watch this. I'm not going to not watch it just because it's breaking the pre-market session. But I need to see I need to see something special here. Okay, if I see it hold here at 251, and I get my something special, I'll look for a long side move. Okay. Again, if it fails 251, then don't long this chart. It goes down lower. So everything today's session is about 251. But as of right now, where is it? It's above 251. So we are what? We're bullish. So it's very simple this morning. 251 bull bear pivot. And you can see why I'm saying that, right? It's a bam. It's the bam. It's the bam. And last time we held above 251. Notice something. Did we actually hold? Brett, what are you talking about? It broke 251 last time and it failed. Well, did it clear? Did it hold above the 251 in the 5-minute time frame? Did it close above the 251 in the 5-minute time frame? No, it did not, right? No, it did not. Don't tell me it. No, it did not. Okay, it did not do it. So today's session, it did. And it is. It actually closed above on the pre-market session. So I do like this chart today, but I want to see it build above here on the in the market open. I want to see it hold up 251. If it does, upside move. That's all I'm saying here in Amazon. Okay, that's your key level. Let's move on. Tesla, just do yourself a favor here in Tesla. Okay, 1 hour time frame. 1 hour time frame here. Whoa, I just messed up my whole OBS thing. Do you guys see that? I fixed it though very fast. Okay, on Tesla, look at the 1 hour chart here, and you're gonna see. Just do yourself a favor. Remove everything here, okay? Look at the chart. Look at the chart. Look at the chart. What the hell is going on here, okay? I probably would have a better time trading milk futures, right? Canola oil futures than I would trading Tesla recently. And I don't know if it changes eventually, but something is very wrong with Tesla. And I don't know what it did to people, but it's just consolidating. It's been in a consolidation for a long time, and I'm not saying the levels aren't leveling. The levels are still leveling. You are still seeing. What did we say yesterday? We said 440 failures for shorts. We said if you are watching anything on Tesla, look for the 440 failure for shorts. What happened yesterday in Tesla? 440 did indeed fail, and it moved down lower. But everything that happens in Tesla is a game of tens. It's a game of tens. What do I mean by that? Every move that happens on Tesla is a $10 move and nothing beyond that, right? It just moves. It moves $10, right? $10 upside, downside, $10 upside, $10 upside, $10 downside, right? Everything is moving in very specified ranges, and it's not going beyond that. And so that's what's creating this overall consolidation. And so again, I don't think you have to avoid it. I'm not saying avoid it. Because again, yesterday it was very clear 440 was your bull bear pivot, and if we are below it, downside. Today's session, it's your upside pivot, right? So if we are above 440, upside the market. So again, use 440. Marvin, thank you, Marvin, much appreciated, Marvin. Thank you for joining in the team. But yes, 440 is your bull bear pivot. Okay, don't have much to say here. Transparently, I don't have much to say. I'm not gonna talk about it. Okay, Apple chart, we already said this. 273 demand bounce. Today's session, if the market does develop a hold, the market's strong, I'm looking for this. That's all I have here in Apple, right? If I see this happen, if I see this develop an intraday hold here, it's not the cleanest of charts, but I am watching it, okay? 273. There are not that many clean charts this morning, and this is one of the cleaner of the bunch. So watching 273 as a hold spot, 273 to 275 as my demand hold here on Apple, okay? Let's move on. Let's go a few more. SoFi is ripping. It still ripped yesterday. It was just insane. I mean, I was not expecting to make this much this quickly, but it did. And it did it, and I'm happy for it. But I'm not going to be selling here, honestly, guys. I'll be looking for it to clear by the highs at least. My goal is I don't even want to say it right now. You know what? I'm not going to say it because there's too many people here. I'm not going to say it. Well, you guys know. If you're in the chat, you know. Okay? Starbucks, beautiful. If you guys remember from Starbucks, what did we say? There was a while ago in Starbucks, it said in the pre-market, nobody wanted to buy Starbucks. Starbucks sucks. Everyone hates Starbucks, and that's why we bought it. And Starbucks is absolutely ripping here in the pre-market session. And this morning, I will probably be looking for some profit-taking opportunities. Okay, I know I didn't get a huge move on this one, but we longed it at the 80s, so around $80 and change, and we longed it, and we're up decently in Starbucks today. So I'm looking for a little push higher, start taking profit. But Starbucks, big move in equity, and I'm happy to be a profit taker this morning on this chart. Okay, let's move on. I want to go over a few more tickers. Let's go over Netflix. We haven't gone over Netflix in a while. Absolutely. Yeah, let's go over Netflix. Netflix chart is possibly giving you the best long opportunity that you're going to get in a while on Netflix. Okay, that's just what it is. You see here. You see how it's holding. It's holding above a previous high. See the previous high turning into support. See the previous high, which is the break and retest level, turning to support right now. That's a long. Okay, so if you want to long this chart, this is where it is. And I think that's where you get involved here on a chart like Netflix. You long it back at demand and you hold it. And granted, it's worked a little bit already, but if you see it dip a little bit lower, right, you can get as close as possible into your demand zone, have a risk under 1060, and look for the upside move back into 1250, right? So that's my expectations here on Netflix. As long as we are above 1260, we're bullish. Okay. Has a daily gap. Does it have a daily gap? Oh baby, is there a daily gap here? If there's a daily gap here, it's going to change it even. Oh yeah, it does. Look at what's going on here. Look what Rocket just sent us. Look at Netflix on this little gap fill play. I mean, yeah, he's absolutely right. So look at this. If we do clear above, and now granted, I know technically we're already in the gap fill right now. We are, right? We already are in the gap fill. Above 1,135, we're already in the gap fill. I would argue, though, here's the level I would get really involved, right? So for intraday price action, intraday trading, I want to see it above that 1,155, right? So the reason why I would say that is because if you clear above these highs, there is a gap fill play on the daily time frame back into the 1240s. So look for that, right? There's a big upside trade here. But again, I do think this, though. I stand by the idea that if you are trading Netflix, you're trading it on long term. You're trading it on some equity, okay? And that's all you're doing. You're going to trade on equity. You're going to hold the stop loss below these lows. You're risking 40, $50 here for an upside move back in the highs. That's all you're doing. I would prefer, like on Netflix, on some tickers, I would prefer long-term ideas. And you guys know I do that sometimes. Sometimes I give you guys long-term ideas that I would trade. And this would be one of them, right? I would have an equity position open here. I would get as close as possible to the 1,100s. And I have a risk under 1,060, which would be a $40 risk. And my reward would be back into T1 here, 1245, and T2 back in all-time highs, 1337. So I'd be looking for this and this. So you have a pretty good equity reward here. But the idea, though, is I would be mostly focused here on a long-term position trade here, right? Not so much focused on the short term. In the short term, however, above the 1,135s, sorry, 1,155s, right, 1,155s, that's where you get the big gap fill play back into 1243s. Okay, guys, that's all I have for today's session. Let's have an incredible day today. It's Wednesday. It's November 12th. Enjoy your trading session. I will see you guys all for live trading. Bye, guys.